seconds left of this bump. You're live.
Hey, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Joe Mangiacotti Show. I am Joe Mangiacotti, and AM 830 WCRN, and, of course, AM 730 WACE in the western part of Massachusetts. And, of course, we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. All you have to do is click WCRN on the TuneIn app, and if you don't actually have the TuneIn app, you know what? A couple of seconds to literally download it, and you're good to go. Also, to remind you that lines are open and available at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. You can also text us on our text line, which is 617-297-8388. And you can also email textjournalradio@gmail.com. So if you don't have a device in front of you, but it's not a cell phone, you can't text, or smartphone, I should say, right? Then you can also email us at textjournalradio@gmail.com, and it is the same screen. You'll pop right up on the same screen. I can answer in real time. A lot of people like to do that. They don't want to jump onto the radio. They can't sit there on hold. Not a lot of people are at work at 5 or 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, but I got to tell you, if you are, you probably have no bosses around. You can also reach the show off air. We do have an office number. That's 508-603-9778, and email us at joemshow@gmail.com. All right, so lines open and available. Also, we are live streaming on the TuneIn app. That's right. Not the TuneIn. Do you believe I just said on the Facebook app, Facebook Live. So if you go to Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show on Facebook, you can actually take a peek into the studio. You get to see the studio. I'm sure it's not about seeing me, but you do get to see, I think you get a shot of Teddy sitting here in the chair next to me. So he's chilling out as he does every Saturday and Sunday morning. First of all, good morning, Shane. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thank you, Joe. How are you?
I am good. How's your week been? I mean, it was Super Bowl Sunday last week.
Did you enjoy the Super Bowl? Did you watch it?
I didn't actually watch all of it. I didn't go to the normal party that we normally do go to. The family situation's crazy. I have a younger sister that recently got diagnosed with a pretty bad situation and some other stuff. So normal stuff has been not normally what we do every year.
Okay.
But, so no, I didn't get it. I think that if it was the Patriots in it, I would have made more of an effort to tell you the truth. I really would have, but no, so I didn't. So you watched it, and the Chiefs pulled it out?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I mean, good for them. Somebody different, somebody new for a change. I'm a Patriots fan, but,
No, it's
always good to see somebody else win.
Absolutely. Kind of cold out there this morning. You got a tougher commute than I do, and you're coming down from the hills of Worcester County, so you actually had ice and stuff.
Yeah, it was really cold overnight, and I had a little bit of snow last night and freezing rain, so it doesn't make for good conditions in the morning.
No, I get it. All right, folks, so we have a great show, I think, lined up in hour two. Dr. Larry Fedawa will join us at 6:30. We're going to have a guest because we're going to talk a little bit about the coronavirus, what's going on with that situation. I said this last week and even almost 2 weeks ago. Thursdays I'm on with Jerry Doherty on Making Money Last. He asked me about this a week ago Thursday. I told him then that this was going to be a lot bigger than it seems to be right now, and then people are letting on, and certainly bigger than China is letting on. And I just by happenstance, a lot of you know I recently got married into a Taiwanese, so that in-law family is all in Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, and we talked to them, and they said, there's, first of all, it's a lot more deaths than they're saying officially, and a lot more infection. They just, Wuhan, they cut off. I mean, they've isolated a city of 60 million people, literally cut all transportation roads in and out. They've cut even internet access to the city. They're taking a lot of very scary Orwellian moves here. In our second part of the first segment here, that we will be joined by Louisa Greve, and she's with the Uyghur Human Rights Project. So she'll be talking to us about that, because there's just a lot more going on than we're led to believe. All right, so that will be part of our discussion this morning. And then with Dr. Larry Fedawa, we'll get into the Iowa debacle, We'll get into. Did you know? There was a debate last night. Shane, did you even know there was a debate last night?
I did not.
Right, there was a 3-hour debate last night, and I'm wondering who watched it on a Friday night. Honestly, I did. I literally turned it on. I did turn it on for a little bit, but it was bash Trump, which to me is it's just asinine. What is that strategy? You're bashing Trump. We know everyone on the stage bashes Trump, hates Trump. We know what you think of Trump. That isn't going to help us, and not us. I mean, remember, folks, this is the Democratic primary. And they come out with these statements about getting, there's no blacks in it and the minority. It's your voters. It's only the Democratic voters and supporters that are making this decision. So be careful about throwing out or lobbing out the white privilege and the racist comments when it's only the Democratic Party are deciding the participants of this. And you got Bloomberg showing up thinking, he can buy his way into the presidency and onto stage. The rules keep changing. We'll get into this. This is crazy. Then Elizabeth Warren gets caught coming off of a private jet, and, hey, she got caught, right? And she tried to hide behind an aide, literally, so you couldn't see her coming off on that. And then there's a situation with women of color in her Nevada office that we'll talk about. There's so much that we need to touch on. 508-871-7000. Let me jump to the phones to kick off the morning. Good morning, Bruce. Thank you for waiting. You're on the show. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Teddy's in here, but that's it. How are you, sir?
Joe, first of all, first-time caller. I love the show. During the week, we get so-called more middle-of-the-road talk, and it's nice to hear a conservative slant to a lot of the problems we have.
All right, well, first of all, thank you for listening, and thank you for calling. I love a first-time caller. I appreciate it, and thank you for the kind words.
Thank you. So, I was a Democrat. I became a conservative, and back in the 2016 election, I saw that both parties were really away from what we were really thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I voted for Trump. And so far, you may not agree with everything he's doing, but I think that he's done a lot of what he's promised to the American people.
Sure.
And he's coming out with some interesting ways to detract from what is happening with the other party. And I believe the response to the whole impeachment was genius, the way he laid it out. So I just want to hear your thoughts. Thank you, Joe, again, for a great show.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Bruce. You don't have to hang up. You can stay on if you want. But again, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening. Okay. The thing about I hope you're on there because I want to go back real quick and ask you about the 2016 because you said you were a Democrat and then you moved more conservative. He went away. So my when you were saying that, Bruce, my thought is going to what is it that attracted you, or why were you a Democrat to begin with? What were the principles? What was the platform? What was it that made you a Democrat prior to becoming more conservative and then actually casting a vote for Donald Trump in 2016? Because I put this out there before, and I got to be careful sometimes because when I put a question out on social media, a lot of people have preconceived notions about where I'm coming from and what I think and that kind of thing. So they think it's a trap or that I'm trying to bait somebody. But in all seriousness and totally straight up, what is it that made you a Democrat in the first place, and why did you leave? And is the Democratic Party what you thought it was, or did it go away from it? There were the blue dogs. Bruce, did you come back? Bruce?
Yep.
Okay, so
yep.
Thank you for the call. But I don't know if you heard what I was saying,
yep.
is why were you a Democrat to begin with? And just, I'm a Boston-born guy with a Irish Catholic mother and Irish or Roman Catholic Italian father. So we grew up, and JFK was, we literally had the pictures of JFK in the house. I I didn't, as a little kid, you grow up idolizing JFK. I don't think, so Democrat, you were born a Democrat if you were born Irish Italian in Boston.
I grew up French Canadian, and in Boston, you didn't vote against JFK's way of thinking. And I, too, had JFK pictures all over my family's houses.
So okay. I was born a Democrat, in essence.
But when we talked about watching the different presidential elections, we had a Mike Dukakis come in town, and he decided to run for president. He ran for president, and then we found out that he left the state in an unbelievable...
The Massachusetts miracle fell apart in the middle of his presidential campaign. Remember that?
So I vowed to myself that I would never vote for a Democrat again. Okay. And I haven't.
All right.
And that's my way of thinking.
Excellent. And I can actually liken that a little bit because that was, again, I was born Democrat, but I always had, I think, some basic conservative views. But when I was a kid, it seemed to me, or a young man too, it just seemed to me that the Democratic Party of 30 years ago was a little more common sense and a little more rationale. And I think it only has gone off the rails in the last decade or so, and certainly off the rails in the last presidential cycle, where you have the AOCs or the squad pulling this and directing them and kind of forcing them in to even saying things I don't think that they would have said a cycle or two ago. At one point in one of the debates, we had every Democratic presidential candidate on that stage raising their hands to say that they would give free health care to illegal aliens, that they would, do away with the borders, that they want to do away with ICE. I don't think that would have happened 10 years ago. They might have thought it.
That's another reason why I don't like that idea, because my French-Canadian family came down from Canada legally.
There you go.
And was sponsored, and they made an unbelievable life for themselves. So to see this and to promote and to agree with what's happening, in my eyes, is a disservice to my own relatives, and I would never do that.
There you go. And I'm dealing, like I said, I married outside, not a resident. So I'm dealing with thousands of dollars in expenses between immigration lawyers and the fees that you need to pay to the government, and then what you have to do to get things in line. So we're doing it the right way. We're going through the process, and I understand it's a big, expensive process. But moving along, I wanted to also jump to, when you talk about Trump, and what was interesting is, I was going to mention this today, Bruce, is that back in the 80s, Trump did something in New York. He was a big developer in New York, but there's a lot of big developers in New York, and I think that a lot of people point to this, what I'm about to talk about, as what kind of launched him into celebrity status. And that was, if you remember, that the Trump organization now owns an ice rink. Now, it was the Waldman and Lasker ice skating rink in New York City Central Park, and it was in disarray. It was a mess. They couldn't get it up. It was costing the city a fortune. And Trump went, in 1986, he went to Donald Trump, and he struck a deal with Mayor Ed Koch at the time to become the concession operator of Waldman. He made the deal, but then he came in with his own money. Trump finished the project 2 months ahead of the schedule, and $750,000. That's $750,000 under budget. And I think that's kind of what launched him into celebrity status, because he was able to, did this 40 years ago, said, look, private business can do better than the government can do. And he's been who he is.
And he did a lot of the stuff. He did a lot of the stuff with minorities and
tons of minorities. A matter of fact.
So now he's considered a racist?
Well, that's it. Even going all the way back to this, right? Did you know that he would give he donated the profits of the rink to public works and to several charities, which included the United Cerebral Palsy, in Partnership for the Homeless, and the Gay Men's Health Crisis. So here he is 40 years ago, using his own money, getting this beautiful rink, redid it, gorgeous rink. Then he doesn't even take the profits from it. He gives them to cerebral palsy, Partnership for the Homeless, so he's helping the homeless, and a gay men's health crisis. Yep. Now, if that's not being okay with the LGBTQ community, sure. What isn't? And now they're going to change the name. They're dropping Trump from the name. Now, the interesting thing about this, Bruce, is going to bring up is the Trump organization notified them in late August that they plan to change the on-rink branding.
2 more calls.
And that is, it's the Trump organization that has decided to drop Trump from the name. And that says to me that what they realize is that it's hurting the rink. And even though it's his name and it's the Trump organization name, it tells me that he's a businessman. He knows that Trump on that Wallman rink is better without the word Trump, because revenues go down. Because that end of the city, right? A lot of their business actually is like the really liberal private schools having events there and things like that. Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to seeing what the last year is, and to actually see a very unique situation where most of the time where a two-term president gets done,
right,
he's usually running on the laurels of his first term.
Yeah,
this man does not know how to rest on his laurels. So I'm really excited to see what he does for the second 4 years.
He's already moved his residence from New York to Florida. He really did turn Mar-a-Lago into the winter White House, which, by the way, when I think it was Post, when Meriwether Post, she built Mar-a-Lago, and her intention was to actually have it as a Southern White House or a winter White House, and it literally has become that. And when he after a second term, after either Trump Jr. or Eric or somebody becomes president in 2024, then he'll be operating out of Mar-a-Lago, and the man is never he's gonna stop only when the dirt's on him.
Some of the benefits of being the president is being able to use Air Force One in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, on the campaign trail.
In the past 3 or 4 presidents have really used it. And I don't know if it's been used correctly, but they have really used it.
Yeah.
So people jumping on the bandwagon and attacking him for using the plane, they don't have a clue.
Hey, Trump was perfectly fine with using his own personal 747, but they won't allow it. So, I mean, how many presidents? We haven't had any president that had their own jumbo jet personal aircraft before either. But I got to run, Bruce, because the lines are booked. You. But again, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening. Pass the word on. 508-871-7000. I think Richard, sorry, I hopefully you'll call back. I know you were up there. Let me go to Mark. Mark, thank you for holding. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Joe. And thank you for having this show on the air. It's the only true conservative voice, not only in central Massachusetts, but I think in Massachusetts as a whole, with the exception of Mr. Kuna, the Kuna man. You and Kuna, that's about it.
Thank you. I consider that as a high praise.
And I appreciate you doing what you do, getting up at this ungodly hour to get the conservative voice out to the people of Massachusetts and let them hear the other side of the story, which you don't get from the corrupt Boston media. Having said that, did you see the speech that Trump gave? I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday afternoon.
The breakfast or the one in the afternoon? The noon one? Which one?
The one in the afternoon.
Yeah. I was actually on air with Jerry up until noon, so I didn't get the whole thing. I was only get clips of it, Mark.
All right. He did something very well. He touched on a lot of things.
Sure.
But what I found most interesting is he went into the litany in that speech.
Yeah.
About all of the deep state operatives who illegally spied on him during his campaign and after his inauguration.
Yeah.
Now he started naming names. Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, James Comey, and he also briefly stated on what they were actually doing. And he went on to say that he named other people. He also said that there's a lot more, quote, that we know that we haven't brought out yet.
Right.
Okay, he said that right on the speech. Now, right after he said that, he pointed, Attorney General Barr was sitting in front of him, amongst, with his other supporters. And he pointed directly, after he said that, he pointed directly at Attorney General Barr. And he pointed right at him, and he mentioned him by name. And our great Attorney General Barr, and he pointed right at him. Now, Attorney General Barr didn't stand up. Most of the other people did it. He didn't ask him to stand up.
Right.
Trump did it.
Yep.
Now, he was sending a message to Barr, okay? And Donald Trump is not a very subtle man.
No,
but
not
he
at all.
He was sending a subtle message in front of God and everybody to Attorney General Barr. Hey, dude, you got to get on the stick.
Yeah.
You got to start going on the offensive. You have to start coming down with some indictments on these people that I just got through talking about.
Yeah.
That's what he was sending a message to Attorney General Barr. And as far as I'm concerned, he had better start coming down with some indictments. He's had enough time. There's enough evidence. Get on the stick. Start doing something.
Okay.
That's the message that Trump was sending to him.
Right. And something, and I've been saying this, I hope to goodness that there is a lot that Barr has going on. But one thing about Barr, Mark, is he's old school, and he's not a politician, meaning that he's not out there to be in front of cameras and things. So he's not going to be the type that leaks a lot of stuff, that grandioses and so forth. He strikes me as that kind of old-type prosecutor that kind of just does the thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, there are indictments, there are arrests. It just happens. And he doesn't leak, and I don't think he would tolerate leaking in his people. And I'm hoping that I read this right, and I hope that he will just pull out what he pulls out, man, when it comes time.
Well, he's got to do it quick. And the last thing I want to say, because I know you're coming up on a break.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Fort Detrick?
Sure.
U.S. Army biomedical lab.
Yep.
Fort Detrick. Okay, they were developing in the '60s. As far as I can read, they were a biological weapons center.
Sure.
Fort Detrick, Maryland. Now, what I'm reading on is that in Wuhan, China, they had the equivalent of their Fort Detrick biological weapons center.
Any time when he's done.
Wuhan.
Yeah.
Have you heard that on the internet? If you haven't, look it up.
Yeah, I have. And when we come back on the other side of this break, we're going to have an expert guest on this, because I'm telling you, and thank you, Mark, very much for the call. I'm telling you that this situation in China with the coronavirus is 100 times worse than they're letting on. They have tried to do it now. The doctor that was the whistleblower, he died the other day, and that tells us a lot of things. Don't forget, when he died, right, when he came out and tried to warn about this, they came down on him, and they made him write his own disinformation, discrediting himself. Then he died. There was blowback. They brought him back to life for 4 hours, and then he died again. But we have to take a break. We're 30 and a half minutes after the hour. We'll be back on the other side of Out with Joe. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Stick with us.
It's time to go out with Joe.
Welcome to this edition of Out with Joe, brought to you by Nothing Bundt Cakes in White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Well, this week, we look towards Valentine's Day. Although the name is St. Valentine's Day, most people refer to the day as Valentine's Day, or even the Feast of St. Valentine. It was originally a day to celebrate St. Valentinus, who performed weddings for soldiers who were not allowed to marry. He was imprisoned for this, as well as for ministering to Christians. Valentine's Day is celebrated every February 14th, as couples across the globe honor their spouses, partners, and sweethearts. Hundreds of years of traditions and customs have made it into the holiday that we observe on the 14th. Some interesting facts about the holiday dedicated to love. The Valentine's Day tradition, giving a box of candy, was started in the 19th century by Richard Cadbury, a scion of British chocolate manufacturing family, with a new technique recently established at the company to create more varieties of chocolate. Cadbury pounced on the opportunity to sell the chocolate as part of the beloved holiday. The iconic chalky, heart-shaped candies that have been passed out lovingly every Valentine's Day started out as lozenges. According to the Food and Business News, pharmacist and inventor Oliver Chase created a machine that would quickly create lozenges before switching to using the machine to create candy, later known as Necco wafers. Chase's brother came up with the idea to print messages on the candy in 1866, and the candies got their heart shape in 1901, apparently specifically to Valentine's Day sweethearts. In 2019, the Sweetheart brand of Conversation Hearts was suspended because the candy's new owner, Spangler Candy Company, needed time to make a supply of the hearts for Valentine's. History's first Valentine was written in perhaps one of the most unromantic places conceivable, a prison. Charles Duke of Orleans wrote the love letter to his second wife at the age of 21, while captured at the Battle of Agincourt. As a prisoner for more than 20 years, he would never see his Valentine's reaction to the poem he penned to her in the early 15th century. It is time now to find out what is hot and happening on the local music scene, and to do that, we turn to our Joe music editor, Tina Marie Billing. Hey, Tina. Good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Here are my picks for live local music this weekend. Tonight, Vintage Skinnerd is at the Maynard Elks Lodge for their Relay for Life fundraiser. Tickets are $25 at the door. Get out and support a good cause. Eclipse is at the Morse Tavern in Natick, and the Cobra Kings debut at the Dark Rose Saloon in Worcester. Russell Watts and Atlantic Avenue are at B-Man's 140 in Sterling, and the Blue Light Bandits are at Michael's Cigar Bar in Worcester. The Gary Backstrom Band with special guest Greg Vasso play for you at the Jasper Hill in Millis, and No Alibi takes the stage at Greendale's in Worcester. For Sunday, the Traveling Medicine Show Revival with the Racky Thomas Band Inspire at Jasper Hill in Millis. And the Tony Soul Project with special guest Monster Mike Lynch get you dancing at B-Man 140 in Sterling. Gracie Curran and the Highfalutin Band hit the Grog in Newburyport, and Chris Stovall Brown's Sunday Live Blues features Ed Shear at the Union Street Restaurant in Newton. That's my Music Minute for the week, Joe. Now back to you.
Thank you, Tina. Tina always has the 411 and all the fun. Don't forget to support your local musicians. We do. For more on dining and entertainment, click OutWithJoe.com and follow us on social media at OutWithJoe. Out With Joe has been brought to you by Nothing Bundt Cakes in White City Plaza, Shrewsbury, on Facebook at Nothing Bundt Cakes, Shrewsbury.
You're listening to Out with Joe. Out with Joe.
Have you heard of the hottest new bakery around? I know you heard about it right here. My friend Al has opened Nothing Bundt Cake in the White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. Nothing Bundt Cake is a bakery chain and is locally owned and operated by my friend Al. They have bundt cakes ranging from bite-sized to tiered, plus platters, candles, and cards. Stop by and check them out. Everything is baked from scratch and on site. Nothing beats a sweet surprise. And until you try one of Al's bundt cakes, you haven't tried a real bundt cake. Stop by and ask for Al. Tell him Joe told you to stop by. 98 Boston Turnpike, White City Plaza near Planet Fitness, Shrewsbury, and on Facebook as well, Nothing Bundt Cake, Shrewsbury.
This is Sean Burke, President of the Licensed Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts, asking you to visit us at lpdam.org when you think you need a private investigator. Don't let your emotions negatively affect your future. Get your answers through a Massachusetts licensed private investigator. Get the facts without risking your credibility by unknowingly committing a criminal offense. You need a license to perform investigations in Massachusetts. What are some types of work that requires a license? Any type of surveillance, interviewing someone for a third party, background and asset checks are just a few examples. For more on this, visit us at lpdm.org and tune into AM 830 WCRN Sunday mornings at 7:30 for case files from the LPDM, or anytime at lpdmcasefiles.com.
This is Wes Oliver with Prestige Home Mortgage from Handling Change. I can help you with all of your residential mortgage needs, from a purchase to a refinance or even an estate buyout situation in the event of a family death. You can call or text me at 508-332-4171 or on the web at wesoliverteam.com.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
right, folks, welcome back here to the second half of the first segment here, the Joe Mangiacardi Show on AM 830 WCRN and AM 730 WACE. Our lines are open and available at 508-871-7000, and our text line is 617-297-8388, or just email us at textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. It appears on the same screen. All right, Lee, I know you're on there, but if you could hold a second, because we're going to bring into the conversation Ms. Louisa Greve, who is the Director of Advocacy for the Uyghur Human Rights Project. And as I've been saying, that the situation with the coronavirus is, I think, far worse than we were first told. And I think that China's handling of it has been less than forthright. Now, an American has died from the coronavirus in Wuhan. The car factories and other businesses are just idling in China, raising global concerns, of course. China's supposed to be purchasing billions of dollars with the new trade agreements. But if their economy has gone into the tank here, then they won't be able to do that. They're talking about crematoriums, hundreds of bodies a day. But we're going to bring into the conversation Miss Louisa Greve. Good morning, Louisa. Thank you for joining us so early on a Saturday morning.
Good morning.
I think you're a little under the weather.
Sorry about that.
No problem. You haven't been anywhere near China, I hope.
No, I haven't.
All right, fantastic.
Actually, I'm banned. I work on human rights and democracy issues, and
so they're not going to let you anywhere near there.
They don't let me go.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, so first of all, I probably don't do it justice, so tell our listeners about what you do and what the organization is.
Thank you so much. My organization is the Uyghur Human Rights Project. I would love to invite your listeners to visit us at uhrp.org. And the Uyghurs are Muslim people who live in the Uyghur region of China. You know, the Tibetans live in Tibet. The Uyghur people live in the Uyghur region called Xinjiang. And we were looking at major human rights abuses, and the Wuhan virus is another example of how censorship and arbitrary government controls cost lives.
Well, I got to tell you, I have maintained pretty much since this broke out that we're not being told exactly what the situation is. I think that the Chinese government tried to squash it and contain it without word getting out. As a matter of fact, now, the doctor who first set the alarm about this, he died a couple days ago. And when he first warned people about this, they detained him. They came and questioned him. Then they made him write his own piece to discredit himself. And he was just trying to do the right thing. I mean, he was, 34 years old? Now, when he actually passed, there was such this outcry about it. They brought him back to life for a few hours, right? And then they killed him off again, which can only happen in a government like China, right? In that kind of totalitarian regime that controls them. What's really going on there? I know that there's something about the crematoriums and burning bodies. What's the deal with that? What's the truth behind that?
Well, this is one of the major problems with the government that everyone knows to cover up bad news. It means people at the local government officials are afraid to give bad news, or they know that they will be disciplined or get in trouble for having put out unauthorized information, so they don't even warn the public. That's what happened to Dr. Lee. That's why many observers do not trust the government figures about the number of deaths. 34,000 cases globally, 31,000 in China, and as of Friday, it was 636 deaths in China, but people don't trust the numbers. And when people look around for food, the crematoriums seem to be burning a lot of bodies. Is it really, much higher? It should be that it seems to indicate a higher number of deaths than the government is saying, but we can't tell because there is no free press.
Right.
There are no investigative journalists, and the government has a track record of covering up that.
Well, I mean, over a week ago, when, again, I recently married a Taiwanese, and talking to family back in China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, they were telling us, and only because it was a private conversation, that the death toll was actually in the tens of thousands, closer to 20,000. And I thought that was, I wasn't sure whether or not I could swallow that, but I got to tell you, 10 days after, and seeing some of our CDC experts and doctors and health, in World Health Organization people talking, they're saying the same thing, that the death toll is so much greater than they're putting officially out there as the word. Also, we have a situation with the cruise lines, right? We've got one in Jersey that docked, and they're quarantined. And from what I understand from the news, Louisa, is that there's some Americans on the ship in Jersey were able to get out. They Skyped out. They talked to Fox News and told them straight out, we learned that we were quarantined by watching the news. That the liner didn't even tell the people that we're doing this emergency dock and you can't leave this ship. So now we have thousands of people on these, what is it, 3 or is it 4 ships now that have been quarantined? I know there's three docked, and isn't there one that's still out to sea because everybody's refusing the ability for them to dock? These things are, in essence, they're floating prisons, are they not?
Absolutely, and that experience is a picture in miniature of what's happening across China. 60 million people in Hubei province now, all over the eastern province of Jiangsu, and obviously incredibly harshly and arbitrarily enforced by Chinese government officials.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a huge economic ramification here, won't there be? Because you got the McDonald's, the Burger King, and Starbucks, and all those things. They just shut down, and they were supposed to go back to work this Monday. Apparently, they were all notified yesterday, at the end of the business day in China yesterday. Don't come back to work. You're laid off, or indefinitely. We'll let you know. I've always maintained that always listen, with one eyebrow raised when the government, especially in a country like China, tells you what's going on. But watch the businesses, because that will tell you more. And the fact that these businesses have said, look, you're indefinitely, you come back to work. Now we've got, Apple has a company there. A lot of the parts of the iPhone for Apple are made in China. And they've shut these plants down. You've got car factories in Korea that are coming to a halt because the parts are coming from China. This is going to be a ripple effect through the entire economic balance of the country, of the world, and it will touch on us here. These companies that, maybe sell cars, if they don't sell cars for a month or two, they can make that up in time. But those companies like the Starbucks and the McDonald's and even the planes, right? Now we've got most airlines have cut off. They can't make that revenue up. That's never going to come back. So we're going to see a huge economic ripple effect, and it's going to affect us here. Thank goodness our economy is so strong. Going back to human rights, why isn't there a bigger outcry globally for the truth here? They were rejecting help from the United States at first. Now the president's saying that they are working with the CDC and the World Health Organization. But I wonder in what capacity and how exactly.
Right. The sad story is that the logic of a Communist Party-led regime is not the same as ours. So you see the gleaming high-rises. There are McDonald's and Starbucks in China, so people, and there's more prosperity. People have smartphones, and you think, okay, that's a modern country. But that's the hardware. The software is not so. And so the government officials are more afraid of looking bad or bringing bad news and then themselves being targeted for repression. There's anti-corruption campaign. Dr. Lee, the hero of Wuhan, was reprimanded for trying to talk about the dangers. And so the officials do not have the normal incentive to tell the truth. And people just have to recognize that and recognize exactly the kind of threat for people to be conducting business as usual with China means they just don't recognize that China is not a rule of law society.
Right. Right. And I've seen some of the pictures, of course. It's very eerie. You've got a city of 60 million people that literally just isolated. They've isolated an entire city and quarantined it. I mean, so that's going to present a lot of problems, health-wise, food lines, supply lines, things of that nature. So these residents are forcibly taken away if they refuse quarantine, correct?
Yes. Again, you're seeing localized responses of government officials who really don't know what to do. They're not in charge of mobilizing health care specialists who can help people. All they know how to do is enforce that quarantine and make sure that their neighborhood or their city is not the source of headlines that, again, the government, central government is angry about. So there's 60 million people in the province of Hubei, surrounding Wuhan. In Jiangsu, both Wenzhou and nearby city are shut down. And there's a huge concern in the concentration camps. As people may know, the Uyghurs, who are Muslim people, have been hauled away over the last 2 years. Over 1 million people locked up arbitrarily, and in conditions like that, a virus like this can be spread very easily. And there needs to be, my organization, the Uyghur Human Rights Project, is calling for urgent international help to send a delegation to investigate the condition.
Yeah. Now you just made reference to the people being pulled off for the last 2 years and you used the word concentration camp. And here people have referred to detention centers for ICE as concentration camps, and I think we're insulted at that. And I think that survivors of World War II and of concentration camps in Nazi Germany and Soviet Union should be very insulted by that. They're nothing like that. But when you're referring to these concentration camps in China, are they more like detention centers, or are they closer to the image that you have of a concentration camp?
Right. Well, they are concentration camps in the sense that they are a place where people who are sent because they're an distinct ethno-religious group, right? They're a minority within China, the Uyghurs, right? So it's, as you know, China is 93% Han Chinese. The other 7% is other peoples. And in this case, the Uyghurs are being targeted because they practice Islam, because they speak Uyghur, because they maintain their own distinct history and identity, just like any ethnic group and ethnic people might. Mm-hmm. And they've been subject to intense ideological forced confessions. You have to confess, I don't believe in God. I have made mistakes. I believe in the Communist Party. So it should make you think of it as Stalinist gulag.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm sure the conditions are horrible. And
overcrowding.
Yeah.
No medical care.
Yeah.
A starvation diet. All the things that would make you vulnerable to a disease. And there have been lots of deaths in custody. My organization documented 49 intellectuals who died in custody since the beginning. And so they're targeting the elite. It's an elitist. It's like what the Nazis did to the Polish elite in the beginning of the war. It's truly horrific. And because Starbucks and McDonald's and all these companies have an investment in China, governments are afraid to criticize. Companies are afraid to criticize.
Right. Right. But it's all religions outside of the party, right? I mean, the Christians are also targeted and prosecuted and detained. Muslims.
That's right.
So anybody outside, anybody of that 7%, regardless, as long as if you're not following it. I mean, I don't think that the average person here in America thinks about what life is like in China, and that they have. I mean, your ID for everything. I was amazed to find out. I mean, you go in to buy a kitchen knife, they laser a registration number on that, and that knife is registered to you. If you did something,
that's for Uyghur.
Pardon me?
That's only for the Uyghurs. This is because the government has a particular racialist policy to control Uyghurs, and if you refuse, you can be hauled away to a camp. So it is true, the people who are experiencing this now because of the virus quarantine, that's daily life for the Uyghurs.
Wow.
And a lot of people just disappeared. Christians are suffering. Every school child has to sign a pledge that I won't believe in religion, and I promise to turn in if any of my relatives believe in religion. So that's
my goodness,
Christian communities.
So you're being forced to turn in your own family and friends.
That's right.
Yeah, that is crazy. I think that it's important that, well, first of all, that this entire coronavirus situation gets under control. I'm afraid that because of the government in China, the Chinese government's secretiveness in what they did would have allowed thousands upon thousands of people to maybe have it. We know that the incubation period could be up to 14 days. There could be countless number of people who are carrying it now and at all points throughout the world. So I don't think we've seen the worst of this situation yet, but on this all aside, I think that the human rights issue in communist China needs a little more light shed on it, and I think that that's something that is in our interest as fellow human beings to be very concerned about.
Thank you so much. I think you've got it right, hit it right on the nose. And the Chinese government participates in UN, United Nations, human rights bodies, as if it's a normal country that respects the basic underpinnings of a free society, but it doesn't. And so, absolutely, I would just ask all of your listeners to respect Chinese people, care for Chinese people, Tibetan people, Uyghur people, but always keep in mind that the Chinese government is not a normal government. And when you meet Chinese people, a lot of them will be offended. They'll certainly feel, they'll even say you might be racist for saying this. And here's the thing, you're not racist if you believe in fundamental dignity for every human being and defend them against their government, which is censoring your news and trying to shape your thinking and certainly depriving you of your individual rights.
Absolutely. Well, Louisa, I know that you're not feeling well, so I'm gonna let you go here. But remind folks that you can check out at uhrp.org. You can also find you on Twitter at Louisa Greve, C. Greve, right? But this information is all on our Facebook page. So people, you can just go to Joe Manji Show and get the links. Also the YouTube channel. You have some videos up there that people can check out. So thank you for getting up early on a Saturday and feeling a little under the weather and still plowing through. I appreciate it.
Oh, Joe, it's been great to talk to you.
All right, go feel better. Get some rest. All right, folks, thank you very much.
Still 5 minutes.
Informative, eye-opening there. And I've said this, man, guys, this situation has been made so much worse because of the communist China, government, their practices, they look what they did to Dr. Lee. I mean, this guy in a chat, in something their equivalent of our Twitter, talking to his fellow physicians, said, hey, at first we thought it was SARS. No, it's not SARS. I think it's a version of the coronavirus. And boom, think about it, right? You get, if you're here, it's like all of a sudden the black SUV show up and all of the guys who bought their clothes, their suits at the same Men's Warehouse show up and tell you, knock it off. A matter of fact, you made a big mistake, and you're going to write your own post in letter discrediting what you just did. So it's very concerning, and I think that this coronavirus is letting us peek behind the curtain a little bit. 508-871-7000. Lee, we got a couple minutes before we break. You've been waiting a long time. I appreciate that, but I needed to get Louisa on. She wasn't feeling good, and I wanted to let her get back to sleep.
Well, I was going to talk about Burisma, but I'll call in tomorrow because I was going to ask her some questions. I was going to ask her, okay, the population of China, okay, is 3.35 billion people. Their size of China and the United States are very close. What would the United States look like if we had their population?
Oh, well, Iowa would have been Iowa caucus would mean a lot more because you would be wall-to-wall people. We have, what, 300...
Well, my point is we're very similar in area. They're right. Ahead of us by I think they have 624,000, I think, 6 something or other, and we only have 3,500,000 or something. So we're very close. So my point is this, and here we go, because this will go back when I was talking about, you know, the Federal Reserve, and people thought I was crazy. I think this is deliberate. This is the second thing that's come out. SARS was first, and now it's Corona. And they're looking for ways to cut down, okay, on their population, because they have to. Their main goal is to thrive, to rival the United States and to thrive more than the United States. They're going to have to do it by cutting down some of the population, because a lot of their industry goes to these people. You see, these people are out there working, but they're too much because they have to take care of them. And the fact that they're eating bats and worms and all that stuff should tell you that this goes on, because if this was in the United States, there would be other people trying to help those people so they wouldn't have to live like that. So I think this is deliberate, and I think what they're trying to do is sneak it through the back door. And I think they have to worry about the Russians. The Russians are very close to them.
You're theorizing that China has basically engineered some of these viruses for population control.
Well, that's exactly what it is. They want to thin it out. I mean, think about how you take care of 1.35 or whatever it is billion people over there, okay? I mean, but what I'm saying is focus on the United States. And what would we do? And we have a big fruited plain, as they say, in the Midwest, right?
Right.
What would we be able to support all these people? And remember, too, they're going to be having more babies, and I know they have limits over there.
Yeah, they've relaxed on that a little bit. But, I mean, it was horrible, right? You had the 2-child limit, and you actually had families in China that would well, basically, I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. They would abandon to let die or murder a female baby because they wanted male babies. So
but it isn't working.
No, it didn't work. It didn't work.
No.
Life always finds a way. To quote Jeff Goldberg from, Jurassic Park. Life always finds a way.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
I was going to ask you these questions, and I would always preface it by saying I haven't done all my research on this. This is just the beginning.
Well, you can go.
She would know.
Yeah, she would know. You can actually communicate with her on Twitter and so forth, but I'm going to have to break, Lee. Of course, you're always welcome to call back in the next hour. But Dr. Larry Fedawa joining us after the 7 o'clock news here on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
First American death. Another Democratic debate. I'm Christopher Cruz. A 60-year-old American citizen has died from the coronavirus in the Chinese city of Wuhan. The virus is believed to have originated in that city. And Japan's health ministry said today that 3 more people on a quarantine cruise ship off the coast of Yokohama have tested positive for the virus, bringing the total number of confirmed cases from the ship to 64. Correspondent Matt Rivers in Yokohama says people on the ship who planned on weeks of luxury are now trapped in difficult conditions.
Conditions on board are not great. You know, we speak to people who say they're only allowed out of their rooms under strict supervision by security guards for around an hour a day. They're not allowed to talk to one another. There's no laundry services. They can't get clean clothes. They're bored out of their minds. You know, it's a tough situation, and it's been described kind of as this floating prison.
In China, 722 people have now died from the virus. Medicare for all, climate change, money and politics, and racism among the topics discussed at the Democratic presidential debate last night on ABC.
The debate opened with a question about whether socialism can win the White House. Joe Biden hit Bernie Sanders the hardest, saying that it's a big risk because President Trump likes to label everyone, and he'll label everyone running on the Democratic ticket a socialist if Sanders is the nominee. Some of the more heated exchanges came when Sanders was attacked for his Medicare for All proposal, and Pete Buttigieg was hit hard for a lack of experience beyond South Bend, Indiana. While some candidates demonized billionaires, Buttigieg defended taking donations from wealthy people, saying they need to go into this fight with everything they have. Steve Kastenbaum at St. Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire.
The actor and comedian Orson Bean has died after being hit by a car last night in Venice, California. He was 91. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention! If you've had hernia surgery and have experienced complications such as chronic pain, infection, wound reopening, mesh migration, bowel obstruction, need revision surgery, or other complications, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Hernia repair surgery is common and requires a mesh product to be implanted inside your body. In May of 2016, the manufacturer of a popular hernia mesh product issued a mandatory global recall due to product defects. If you've had hernia surgery and have experienced complications, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call the Hernia Mesh Helpline now at 800-245-5187. Our experienced attorneys will fight to get you the compensation you deserve. You pay nothing unless we get a recovery in your favor. Time is limited to file a claim, so call the Hernia Mesh Helpline now, 800-245-5187. Operators are standing by 24/7. Call 800-245-5187. That's 800-245-5187.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Lavash, you're all set with your mortgage, and I assume you understand what you just signed.
A stack of papers, George?
That's right. And for future, just call this number if you need anything. And, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna need that pen back.
The mortgage process can be confusing. Looking for the right rate, the right term, and most importantly, the right place to get your mortgage. At Clinton Savings Bank, we are committed to getting the mortgage that's right for you. You may even receive up to a $750 credit off your closing costs. Plus, right now, you can lock in the rate from your pre-qualification for 90 days while you look for a home. So what are you waiting for? Definitely not this.
Oh, boy. Hi, Mrs. Lavash. How can I help? You're breaking up. Try again later.
Subject to credit approval. Offer may be withdrawn at any time. For complete details, exclusions, and credit costs and terms, call 888-744-4272. Apply at ClintonSavings.com. NMLS number 422081. Member FDIC. Member DIF. Equal housing lender.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system, and get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger-looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com, and like me, you'll be glad you did.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Our topics are large and small. When you really need to know, we are the show. You want to know, it's time to talk to you.
right, folks, welcome back to Hour 2, the Joe Mangiacardi Show on AM 830 WCRN and AM 730 WACE. You can reach us at 508-871-7000, as well as our text line, which is 617-297-8388, 617-293-8788. If you have a device but you can't text, you can also email us at textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. See how that's very clever, right? Textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. It appears on the same screen. I can respond in real time, and I know a lot of you like to text or email instead of calling and speaking on the air, but the lines are always open and available. All right, as we do once a month, we invite into the conversation Dr. Larry Fedawa. Dr. Larry is a conservative commentator and talk show host on social and political issues. He's been a technology executive, business owner, college president. You can find him Wednesday evenings on Blog Talk Radio on the Bachelor News Network, I believe it's called now. So good morning, Dr. Larry.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us earlier on a Saturday morning. I know we usually bounce between the second or third, depending on how the schedules wash out, but I think this is a good time because we've had one interesting week or week plus here. First of all, I think even the president's foes are agreeing he's had a great political week. You see the people on the left on CNN actually agreeing that the economy is doing fantastic and that you can't dispute that. They have been pulling, the Democrats, the left, right, have been pulling for a long time. They've been trying to pull the toilet paper scare thing. And what I mean by that is back in December of 1973, I don't know, you might remember this, Johnny Carson had read an article about a shortage of commercial-grade toilet paper. So he made a joke on his monologue about we could be facing a shortage of toilet paper. He just made some jokes, said this. It actually resulted in people thinking that there was a shortage coming, and they started hoarding toilet paper, and they bought everything on the shelves, which did what? Created a toilet paper shortage. And I think the Democrats have been doing the same thing with, and it keeps failing. And remember they told us that if Trump got elected, that the stock market would crash. And then the economy was going to go into a recession, maybe a bigger depression than we've ever seen. They keep telling us and warning us, yet it doesn't happen. They have to keep giving it up. So after the economy has done well, the stock market didn't crash. As a matter of fact, it's breaking records. Unemployment lowest in 50 years. Unemployment lowest ever recorded for blacks, Hispanic, females. And wages are increasing. Fastest growing wage increase is the low echelon, the blue collar boom, as he put it. Now, they're trying to tell us that this great economy is actually Barack Obama's. He started it all. Right?
Yeah. That's been going on for quite a while, but they're sticking with it.
Well, they have no alternative, right? They can't. I mean, how many times can you lie, right? You can't be Chicken Little forever. The sky's falling, and it doesn't. Not only doesn't fall, but it gets higher and bluer than ever. So you gotta give that up. So they're going to try to shift the credit to B.O. And pretend that he had something to do with this, when in actuality, everything that is causing a great economy is exactly the opposite of what Barack Obama did. Trump lowered taxes, reduced regulation, opened up the pipelines. And remember that these economists were telling us that tariffs will cost jobs. It's done exactly the opposite. You got Klugman over on CNN, who is their go-to economist, right? He's loaded with confidence, but never accurate. And he's even had to come around and say, hey, the economy is doing pretty good. What can I do, right? I mean, even he can't lie with a straight face at this one. But let's talk about the week or so. First of all, what's your take on the Iowa debacle?
Well, I think one major effect is going to be that Iowa's losing its place as the the first vote in the election cycle.
Will they hold on to that? Do you think
there's been a lot of jealousy about that anyway? And now that they really screwed up, they really made it easy for somebody to come in there and change the whole thing. So I think that's the most important long-term effect.
Do you think Perez is going to lose his chairmanship? Just in case, for listeners, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee is a gentleman named Perez, and some sitting representatives, Democratic representatives, have already called for his resignation, said that he should be out of the job. Do you think this is directly Perez's fault?
I don't think it's his fault, really. What he didn't do is provide any kind of support for the Iowa people. But you can't really blame the problems on him because he didn't have anything to do with it. But he should have, I guess, is what they're saying. But that's only part of what people are really upset about. The main problem, really, is that they have fielded a roster of candidates for the presidency, none of whom really has much of a chance against the current president. And they're really starting to panic, and they're trying to figure out what can they do between now and the convention to find somebody that really has a chance to win.
Okay.
And right now, it doesn't look like they have very good candidates.
Well, I'm going to float something here, Doc, okay? And I said this a while ago, and I think people just left it off as half comical observation or something. But I had said this, and I'm starting to believe it more and more, that we're headed to a brokered convention. And I think that when you see all of this just a mess, right? And you've got, did they even get the numbers yet from Iowa? We had a debate last night, right? On a Friday night, 3 hours, the Democrats talking. The few minutes I turned on, all they were doing is bashing Trump, which to me, Doc, stop it. We all know you hate Trump, and it's not doing anything. You're supposed to be setting yourself apart among the field of Democratic candidates, right? And these are the same people who are saying, oh, my goodness, look, we don't have any minorities on the stage leading the way. Well, it's your own party who's picking people. But if they have this huge issue going on and they go to the convention and there's no clear front runner and none of that is coming, I mean, obviously you're going to go to a brokered convention. And I think that, and again, I don't discount it, who's going to sweep in, right, and save the day? The equivalent of the political cockroach is the Clintons. They survive everything. And I think that she's going to make a run for it at a brokered convention.
Well, I think the brokering is going to come prior to the convention.
Okay.
And I think that I think that the basic idea that you're putting forth as far as some interference in the normal primary process, I think that is going to I think that's very likely, unless somebody really walks away with everything and all the marbles between now and the convention. I think that that's really what's behind this whole thing about Perez. They just feel that the powers that be, and especially the donors, feel like they haven't got anybody that he has been able to encourage to come onto the scene and make a credible election out of it. On the other hand, from the point of view of the Republicans, I'm cautioning people to remember that at this time in 1991, senior George Bush had something like a 90% approval rate, and he lost the election. So nothing is for sure. But right now, the Democrats are really worried.
Well, as far as Bush 1 goes, the interesting thing, and I think P.J. O'Rourke put it best, is George H. Bush got caught in bed with a naked economy. And he had that great approval rating, but by the time the elections came around, the economy had started to tank, and that, well, it was tanked.
Well,
I should correct that. It was tanked, but the economy had started to turn around, but not fast enough. And it was actually Bill Clinton who got a lot of the credit for the economy turning around in that cycle. And this,
yeah, but don't forget Ross Perot.
Ross Perot.
Had he not gotten in, I think that Bush still would have won.
Yeah,
but
he siphoned off.
Something like that could happen this time too.
Well, of course, don't forget, Hillary let us know that we have the Russian agents, right? We've got Jill Stein out there still, and Gabby, so she's suing Hillary for that Russian accent comment. Have you seen this? Have you followed that at all?
Oh, yeah, you mean Gabby?
Yeah, Gabby. Yeah, Gabby's suing Hillary, which she should, up her security, because I'd be very afraid that she's about to come into an accident. But that's aside. But the thing is, that right now, and this is what Hillary was trying to, of course, her losing the 2016 election is everybody's problem, everybody's fault except hers. She's constantly been putting the blame. She's still out there saying these things. She's going to maintain that Trump only won because of cooperation with foreign governments, yet she's the only one that it can be proved that actually employed a foreign agent to do anything. And actually, Steele just had to admit on the record, because he got sued, that it was all a farce. So, this is not done. I agree 100% that you don't count the chickens until they're hatched type of thing. The only thing that I can see being a problem with the economy is actually the coronavirus is going to be a very negative ripple effect through the stock market, through trade agreements and all of that. Yet the signing of the USMC and the China Phase 1 deal and the tariffs have really done a lot to secure that this booming economy continues to go and continues to grow. However, let's not forget that coronavirus, I still don't think we've reached even the halfway point through this. And China just cut tariffs in half by $75 billion of U.S. goods. So that's great for us as well. But if their economy, if all their cities are quarantined, Doc, and they're not going to work, they can't buy anything.
Well, not only that, but they can't make anything either.
Right. And we've already seen that affect the supply lines, affect the Korean car companies, because they can't get the parts. The parts are coming from China, so they can't put this stuff together. Apple is in huge issue there because they have a huge factory in Wuhan. But whenever we talk about Apple in China and human rights, right, you have to roll your eyes in the same breath. Ricky Gervais made a good point when he, kind of lectured the Hollywood bubble and the elite about that, when he said if Al-Qaeda had a streaming service, you'd all be calling your agents, because they're all happy to get on board with Apple, but Apple is in bed with some of the worst human rights on the planet in China. I mean, they had to put on one of their sub-companies, suppliers here, they had to put a suicide net around the building. That's how bad, because they're locked into the building and they work and live in this building. People are launching themselves off to commit suicide to get out of there. They literally had to put, and you can go check this out, folks. It's all in line. You can see a picture of the building. They had to put a suicide net up to keep their employees, or their prisoners, I should say, alive. So
that wasn't even a possibility for us until recently, but now that we've got this the whole electronic industry is now starting to migrate back to the United States, which couldn't. Frankly, this virus is going to accelerate that. It already has started to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think. But that, by the way, that virus thing could turn into a pandemic, and that is one of the sort of thing that could tank the economy. By next November, it could. There are a lot of things that could happen, and I'm just saying that don't let the Republicans get too complacent, because this thing isn't over.
No, I agree 100%, and I'm saying this now to everybody: do not, by any way, shape, means, think that the 2020 election is a given or wrapped up. A matter of fact, we got to come out even stronger, because after what happened in 2016, it's lit to me, I think it lit a fire under the Democratic base. I think a lot of people realized it's galvanized people. It's made them be a little more conscious about this. But we also, and I wonder what your take on this is, Doc. I think that this time around we have less closet Trump supporters than we did in 2016. I still think there's a great number of people who are not vocal or visible about their Trump support. But I think that more people are comfortable with being out about voting for Trump or supporting Trump than they were in 2016.
Well, they have a lot better reasons, too.
Oh, yeah.
With all of the accomplishments that he's made. I thought that State of the Union was really a work of art, almost, in that regard.
So let's talk about the State of the Union. Obviously, he got a lot of criticism because, woodchucks chuck and birds fly, and Democrats criticize. So
they're going to criticize whatever.
No matter what, right? It's a given, so it's white noise to me, as far as I'm concerned. But let's talk about it. First of all, I thought him, first of all, promoting Colonel McGee to Brigadier General earlier in the day, having his grandson, very touching. I think Sergeant Miller, now I do another show, and I brought up this, and my kind of co-host on that show, who's from the military, she took great offense with Sergeant Miller being reunited with his wife and child, saying that that he used that as a prop and it's insulting, and I'm like, I think you're looking for something. I thought she's saying, look, as a military family, they couldn't say no to this. He goes and he plucks this guy, and I'm like, I really think you're over dramatizing this. I think that it was a situation where, okay, without harm to anything, we can bring this guy home, and I was fine with that. I thought it was a very great moment. I thought it was a wonderful thing. She was saying, that's for YouTube, reuniting, and I'm like, come on. I also thought, and again, Nancy Pelosi jumped on this, that the civilian medal to Rush Limbaugh should have been done in his office, not there, but that was the first time something like that's been done at the State of the Union address. And who's to say that you can't? I mean, this president has done many firsts. He has changed the way people run for president. He has changed the presidency. Whether you like it or not, I think it's fact. He's changed the presidency, and he's changed the election process.
Yeah, he also invented a whole new genre of entertainment, which you and I are part of. Conservative radio commentary. That didn't exist before Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, right. Rush Limbaugh absolutely has the bar to be. He set the bar at this, and I think back when he came on the scene, and a little before that, I mean, here locally in the Boston market, we had people like Gene Burns, even going back to the 70s and into the 80s, David Budnoy, who was more libertarian on WBZ. But you think back to these guys, and then Jerry Williams is on, which actually launched Howie Carr, which is a Hall of Famer broadcaster with several stations out of the Boston market. And he just he took it to a science, and he took it to a whole new level. But the other thing of that is, he has done so much for charities, what he has done for veterans, for the Tunnels Project, right? The paying off mortgages and buying homes for veterans. The Rush Revere books are wonderful. There are so many levels, and the guy is called consistently called a racist, right? And this guy, I mean,
you're talking about the president, right?
No, I'm talking about Rush Limbaugh, called a racist.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and again, in the president, let's put them both in, right? They're constantly called racist with really no. If you ask people, how do you come to that conclusion? They just come to the conclusion because they don't like him, but they have no evidence or facts about this. So, Rush Limbaugh, I mean, Bo Snerdley, his producer, right? This guy has been with Rush since day one. Because of Rush, he's a multi-millionaire, and he's a black man. And he took some of the wealth from the Rush Limbaugh show that he made, and he started a conservative black PAC. And you're seeing more and more of this. So I'm shifting between, I know I'm jumping between Rush and back to the president. Point is, State of the Union, I think that was fine. I think it was amazing. He just was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. That day, he announced it on the day of the State of the Union. That Tuesday, he announced it on the show, and he was up there that night. We're going to take a break very quickly, so let me turn it back to you. Finish, capping what you thought of the State of the Union, and what did you think of Pelosi's tear seen around the world? Rip. Hello, Doc? Did I lose you? Oh, there you are. Go ahead. The floor is yours. Did we lose him?
He's still there, but I'm not hearing him.
Oh. Dr. Larry, did we lose you?
No, I thought you were taking a break.
Oh, no. I said we're taking a break in a couple minutes. I was going to turn it over to you to what did you think of the State of the Union, and then Nancy Pelosi's rep.
Still a minute now.
A minute and 50 seconds.
Well, I thought that the State of the Union was, I have to tell a little story about that. I wrote my column at 6 o'clock in the morning of the next day, and I thought, well, everybody else is going to be talking about the details, so I'll take a different tack on it, and I wrote a column called The State of the Union, a Shakespearean Drama, and basically what I did was analyze Mrs. Pelosi's very strange and hateful performance. And then, but as the day went on, I found out that became a major factor in the commentary, and so I was actually had given up the opportunity of talking about the whole thing. And everybody, a lot of other people felt the same way. So, but anyway, I felt that it was it was perhaps the best speech. It was certainly the most entertaining State of the Union that I ever remember.
Sure.
And that goes back a ways.
Right.
And
well, Doc, now we do have the break, so let's pick this up on the other side. We're going to break for handling change. We're going to hear from Paul Stankus from the Cantiani Insurance Agency about umbrella policies, and then we'll be back on the other side. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. I am Joe Mangiacotti.
This is Wes Oliver with Prestige Home Mortgage for Handling Change. Join us for Handling Change today at 7:30 or on the web at handlingchange.info.
Good morning. morning and welcome to Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and Paul Stankus of the Cantiani Agency joins us this week. Protecting your home, auto, business, and possessions can be challenging. Paul can help you handle those challenges. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back to the show again. 2020, here we are. How are things at Cantiani Agency?
Everything is going great.
Fantastic. Let's jump right into this. I was thinking, because, you watch a lot of commercials out there, right? It's almost become more about the characters in these insurance commercials than the insurance coverage. And we've heard a lot of terms like bundling, and I think people get the whole concept of that, and we understand that. But there is something out there I hear once in a while, and it's called the umbrella coverage or the umbrella policy. And I'm not sure everybody gets that. Do you think you could explain that for us?
Sure. An umbrella policy is a policy that provides additional liability coverage over and beyond what's on the underlying home or auto policy.
Oh, fantastic. So this is above and beyond your policy that you already have on everything.
It gives you additional protection if someone is trying to come after your assets.
So this would be placed on there because it's a way of upping your coverage, or is there another benefit to it?
The policy itself basically does just give additional liability coverage. Your auto or home policy, per se, will only give you a certain level of coverage. The umbrella policy, something you can purchase to provide additional coverage to make sure that you're covered appropriately based on what you have for assets.
Well, it sounds like it's something you should have, and it's a benefit to have. So let me ask you first, why don't most people have one then?
Well, in the insurance world, most people won't purchase something if they're not fully informed about it. And a lot of people don't know exactly what an umbrella policy can provide for them.
So it's a classic, you can't ask for what you don't know exists.
Correct.
And then, of course, if you don't know the benefits and the reasons for it, you wouldn't know to ask for it. Let me ask you this then. The cost involved, is it going to be a substantial increase to your premium if you have an umbrella policy?
Umbrella policies are fairly inexpensive. For the coverage that you're obtaining, the cost is usually pennies on the dollar. Umbrella policies usually start with $1 million liability limits, but we have some carriers that will go up to $10 million umbrella policies.
How many items do you need to have, or how many policies do you need in place that it would actually work, that you can get one of these umbrella policies?
As a standard, most of our companies require that they write your underlying home and auto policy as far as a personal umbrella. We do have a company that does offer umbrella coverage if you just have an auto, but for the most part, they're looking for you to have a home as well as auto. But the umbrella will cover rental properties as well as boats, motorcycles, and any other toys that you might have.
Well, this is all fantastic. It sounds like you get a lot of benefit and protection with an umbrella policy.
The umbrella policy itself is going to provide the additional coverage, but it's also going to provide you representation in the event that you're being sued. Someone's trying to come after all of your assets.
That's a scary situation to be in. So are you suggesting that everybody that has your standard policies, home, even rental, auto, or commercial policies should inquire about this if they've never had this conversation?
I think it's something to definitely consider and ask about. An umbrella policy, like I said, doesn't cost much, and you may not need it, but you may feel more comfortable having it. And also, if you have more than just a home and auto, once you have a few rental properties, in the event you're being sued, someone can come after just about anything. So you want to make sure that you have an umbrella to go over all that and give you the proper protection.
And you mentioned the sue part a couple of times, so I guess that's really one of the huge benefits of an insurance, or rather an umbrella policy, is you just have that much more against litigious society that we're in.
That's correct.
All right, fantastic. So, of course, people can reach you and any of the good folks down at Cantiani Insurance any business day. All right, Paul. Well, thank you for stopping in. Fantastic information. And again, anybody can give you guys a call down at the agency anytime, right?
Absolutely.
All right. And thank you for joining us for Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. Join us each week at 7:30 as we give you the tools to handle the changes in your life, and visit us at handlingchange.info. You can find Cantiani Insurance online at cantianiagency.com or call 508-791-2088. For Paul, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to the final segment of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN and AM 730 WAC for our western part of the state listeners. You can just tune in there. We're also live streaming the TuneIn app. If you don't have it, it takes literally a few seconds to download it. punch in WCRN, and you can take us anywhere. That's the best part. We also have our text line, which is up and running, which is no problem, at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. And if you can't text, but you have a device, just text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. That's all you have to do. Pretty clever, right? 508-871-7000. On the line with us is Dr. Larry Fedawa. And Dr. Fedawa, you can hear him on Wednesday evenings on Blog Talk Radio on the Bachelor News Network, 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights. He is a conservative commentator and talk radio show host on social and political issues. And before we jump back in with the good doctor, let me go to the phone lines because, you know, you've heard it here over and over again, folks, that you can get your Trump paraphernalia, your Trump supplies at New England for Trump stores located all throughout the area. It started with, a tent pop-up store, and it turned into 5 locations rather quickly. And we've got a big night in Manchester coming up on Monday night. So let me invite into the conversation Keith Lambert. Hey, Keith.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Fantastic. Thanks for coming. Overslept a little this morning, eh?
Well, a little bit.
It's not like you're a hard-working guy or anything, Keith.
Well, we were up late last night, so late midnight, getting ready, partially getting ready for the rally. We had have 8 new design T-shirts that we had made up, and they just got finished yesterday, so we had to fold everything and get it all prepared.
Well, let me ask you, the most important thing I need to know right now is the Trump fedora ready for me? Have we gotten that thing yet, or what?
We don't have a Trump fedora, but we do have a USA fedora. All
right, that's fine. Good enough. Good enough. So, by the way, I have on the line with me Dr. Larry Fedawa, which joins me once a month. He's out of the D.C. area. And Dr. Larry, let me introduce you to Keith Lambert. Keith is the guy that started the New England for Trump stores here in Massachusetts. And it all stemmed from him wanting to go to a Trump rally, and he couldn't find a mega hat. Couldn't find one anywhere. And he decided to, it started with just a tent, right, at something. He decided, well, let me just do a pop-up. And then it blew off. So Dr. Larry, Keith Lambert. Keith, this is Dr. Larry. Gentlemen, might as well meet each other while you're online together.
Hello there.
So he's done a great job. You've got the 5 locations. So we have this rally going on Monday night in Manchester, New Hampshire. First of all, did you realize there was a 3-hour Democratic debate last night, Keith?
Was it last night?
Yeah, exactly. Was it last night? Yeah. I'm sure people who do this, the producers or whatever for shows and magazines and publications probably had to watch it. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. I turned it on, and it was 4 or 5 solid minutes of Trump bashing, which to me is a waste of valuable airtime. People, we all know you don't like Trump, but I guess there were a few bombs in there. Pete Buttigieg got called out on his record or something, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But tell people the status of the store and what to do on Monday.
So all 5 stores will be open 11 to 6 today and 11 to 6 tomorrow, so that you can come get all your gear for the rally. And we will be open. We'll be open tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday at 570 Elm Street, directly across the street from the arena at the Pinnacle gas station. We'll have a big tent. Our banner will be up. We're going to have Jeremy Harrell, the rapper, that'll be there on Monday. He's going to have a PA system. We're going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great time.
All right, fantastic. That's great. And all of the good stuff that you can get in the store will be at the tent.
Absolutely. I even made an official event shirt, which is awesome, and I think everyone's going to love it.
All right. That sounds like a good time. It's great. We're still waiting for the news about where you're going to open up in the Worcester area, right? We need something this side. Rattle off the locations again, Keith. You are aware of the 5 current stores.
So we have a location in Easton, Mass. We have one in Hanson. We have one in Bellingham. We have one in Peabody and in Wilmington. And you can see us at NEFOR Trump, Facebook /NEFOR Trump.
There you go. Obviously, you can also link over to his Facebook page on the show page as well. So check that out. All right, Keith, thank you very much. I'll talk to you later today at some point. I'll give you a ring.
All right, very good. Thank you,
All
Joe,
right,
and thank you, Doctor. Take care.
All right. There you go. Keith Lambert, New England for Trump Stores. I got to tell you, Dr. Larry, the guy, he filled a niche, right? Here's a guy, a couple of months ago, he wants to go to a Trump rally, can't find a mega hat anywhere in Massachusetts, nowhere in Rhode Island. And he said, you know what, let me get this stuff. He does this for other things, like, for sports, the World Series and stuff. Goes down to his distributor in New York, grabs a bunch of Trump stuff, sets up a pop-up tent, absolutely sells out. So in 5 weeks, he opened 5 locations. And I first reached out to him because I was thinking, how is that going? A Trump store in very blue Massachusetts. And it's fantastic. And he's gotten no pushback, right? He's not, he didn't get any, he says nobody gave him any hassle.
Nobody tried to kick him out of a restaurant?
No, not that I know. Yeah, he said no. I thought he might have got a little guff from some of these, towns where he wanted to open up. One location, when he first opened, he said a woman came for about 20 minutes outside with the sign, but it was too overwhelming for her, and so she left. I've been to the store a few times. I've never gone to a store that doesn't have, it's not half full. It's amazing. So there's a need. And let's not forget that here in Massachusetts, Doc, Trump got a significant number, more votes than our alleged Republican governor did. So there is, and I was talking about this earlier, right, that we have, I think in 2020 this year, that we have a lot more Trump supporters out of the closet, but I still think there is a significant number of closeted Trump supporters. You pointed out you can hold your head high being a Trump supporter in the sense that, hey, he has accomplished so much for for a first-term president, not a one-term, a first-term president. Tremendous. All the noise and all the static, and he still continues to plug away. Fantastic.
Well, he's not a quitter, that's for sure.
No.
And that's half the battle today.
Yeah,
Because,
I agree.
You got to keep trying no matter what happens, and he's certainly proven that he can and will do that.
Yeah.
Especially with so many Democrats in Congress.
Well, as far as the caucus, we kind of talked about the Iowa debacle. We talked about, and we're going into Nashua, into the first in the nation primary. Your take, do you think that because you've got Biden, who kind of got fourth, I mean, he really showed poorly in Iowa. If he doesn't show very well Tuesday, I think that the money has already started to dry up, but I think it will be gone. I mean, major Democrat donators, they're not that stupid, right? They're not going to throw good money after bad money if he can't pull it out. You have any predictions for New Hampshire?
Well, I don't think he's going to do very well in New Hampshire, and I guess nobody thinks he's going to do very well in New Hampshire. But I also think that there is a sleeping bomb or a hidden bomb here that is just getting ready to come out, and that is the shellacking that his conduct took in the defense of the president when they went blow by blow, talking about all of his malfeasance in regard to Burisma, and that was so convincing that. And I'm sure that the Republicans are going to be using that, and that is going to scare the donor class completely away from Mr. Biden. He's simply going to be damaged goods, I think.
Yeah, because they've already, his records have been pulled. They're already looking at Joe Biden. There's a call. Yes, you can say it's partisan, it's all political, but bottom line is nothing in Burma, Ukraine, China, and even Soviet Union passes the sniff test when you come to Biden. And we've also got other prominent politicians, family members are involved in other situations. It's all going to keep coming out to light. Doc, we have a caller who wants to jump on with us, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to the phones. Jean, good morning, dear. You've been waiting patiently. Thank you very much. You're on with myself and Dr. Larry Fedawa.
Joe, Dr. Federer, we have to thank WCRN for the men of WCRN and getting the whole truth out there, Dr. Federer, because they don't want it. It's becoming, I hate to say it, Joe, but I have to say it because if I don't say it, then I'm playing the game, Dr. Federer. We have to say the tough stuff. That's exactly what they want to do to America. Okay, China wants to control the world. Russia really wants to rule the world. I mean, but here they are controlling. And we talked about it this morning, Dr. Federer, and in the fact that this wonderful doctor became a whistleblower. And, also I want to get Keith, if you're listening now, you be proud of Trump because he still stands for God. Not one of the Democrats has ever given credibility to Judeo-Christian nation, the founding of this country, the God is founder of this country. All the amendments are God amendments, and they don't want it, Dr. Federer. They're communist, fascist, socialist. Can we say that? Can anyone lay down their life like this wonderful doctor did and have the love for people that they're going to be frying in hell without Jesus Christ? Because that is God, and He is. And guess what, Dr. Federer? 43 years, I'm an old, fat, born again. I was with friends from this past week, and Dr. Federer, are you ready for this? He said initials, and he goes, oh, now think about this for a shirt, Joe, and Dr. Federer, think about this for a shirt. What is it? OFBA. And underneath, big letters, okay, praise Jesus, old, fat, born again. We're all old, fat, born again.
So you're OFBA. An OFBA, old, fat, born again. Yes. All right,
Dr. Federer, I want to thank you for being on WCRN from your perspective, from what you said about Nancy Pelosi. Isn't it also a law? Isn't it also the fact that she should not have done that, Dr. Federer?
Go ahead, Doc. What's your take on actually ripping up a document about that? Because I had a lot to say about it, but go ahead. What's your observation on that?
I think it's a hateful act by a hateful woman, and it's not actually illegal, I guess, because it was a complimentary copy.
Right.
And not
it wasn't an official
document.
presidential document.
Right.
And that's because when he handed it to Pence and her, it was in that beautiful blue binder thing. And when she first ripped it up, I'm thinking, that is so tacky. And then I said, wait a minute. That was very official looking, but and scholars have come out and said this because when Trump did finally say something yesterday morning, and he said, she tore it up, which, she broke the law, it's illegal. But many legal scholars have come out and said, but it wasn't the official presidential, it was a courtesy copy, it's fine. It's more of the tactless, classless act than it was an illegal act, right? Yeah. Still, bad optics for her. She knew what she was going to do. They did get her, you saw her put it under the table, and the back view of the camera, where you were able to see her start the little rips and have it all ready. So she knew she was going to do this very dramatically. She was going to do it for effect. She was going to make a show out of it, and she did. and she did. But I think we're going back to the State of the Union address because she criticized everything, right? She criticized reuniting the family. She criticized the medal for Rush Limbaugh. She criticized the Border Patrol chief, deputy chief. She just, everything she had a problem with. But most other people, including myself, thought it was a great State of the Union.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah. All right, well, we're coming up to the time here, Doctor, so remind folks that, of course, they can hear you on Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock on Blog Talk Radio. And it is now Bachelor News Network, correct? Instead of just network, it used to be, right? Now, Bachelor
right.
Network.
Bachelor News Radio Network.
News Radio. Fantastic. And you're still writing, Doc?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I have the affliction.
There you go. I think the best thing to do, folks, if you want to check out Dr. Larry Fedawa's writings and hear him, just go online to drlarryonline.com. Easiest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
The easiest way.
All right, man. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, Doctor, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, folks, so Dr. Larry Fedawa, he joins us here second or third Saturday of the month, depending how the schedules wrap out. Tomorrow, we have a great show, 6 to 8 o'clock. Hour 2, I'll be joined by Reverend Preble and Father Fay of the Messiah College. We're going to take a look at religion in America today, and we've got an announcement to make about a great show coming up about faith in America. So join us at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, same location, same bat channel here. Coming up next, Larry, wow. Gary Goldman on business, politics, and lifestyle at 8 to 10 o'clock. And don't forget to check us out on tmjshow.com or joemangishow.com for our posts, as well as follow us on social media at Joe Manchi Show.
1 minute.
Before I did go, there was just a couple other things I wanted to say. I did end up talking about the dropping the name off of the ice rink. But I wanted to recognize Patrick Mahomes, who's, basically he's everything that Kaepernick isn't, including a champion. He walked to the sidelines before the game. He knelt and he prayed. He stood for the anthem. And in his off time, he helps build houses for veterans. He works with mentally challenged kids. And he is for our police, and he is a great role model. And I think sometimes people need to be recognized. And that's the type of athlete that I think we should be looking to, who can actually be a role model for our kids. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN and AM 730 WACE. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks. I'll be back here tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Joe out.
Time to go out with Joe.
Welcome to this edition of Out with Joe, brought to you by Nothing Bundt Cakes in White City Plaza in Shrewsbury. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Well, this week, we look towards Valentine's Day. Although the name is St. Valentine's Day, most people refer to the day as Valentine's Day, or even the Feast of St. Valentine. It was originally a day to celebrate St. Valentinus, who performed weddings for soldiers who were not allowed to marry. He was in prison for this, as well as for ministering to Christians. Valentine's Day is celebrated every February 14th, as couples across the globe honor their spouses.